today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
We have some breaking news out of the New York Times. The UK will recognize Palestinian statehood in September, barring Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said his country would act unless there was a truce, citing the intolerable humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced on Tuesday that Britain would recognize the state of Palestine in September if Israel does not agree to a ceasefire, with Hamas pouring pressure on the Israeli government to halt a war that has put Gaza on the brink of famine, which they technically are. I have a video coming out probably tomorrow if I get through with the editing today, of pretty much how Gaza is now at like a level 5 like humanitarian catastrophe as far as like famine goes. Mr. Starmer's announcement, which came after an emergency meeting of his cabinet, is a sharp shift in his position, reflecting the intense political pressure his government has faced as the British public and lawmakers in his own Labour Party recoil from images of starving children in Gaza. Mr. Starmer cast recognition as part of a broader European effort to end the ruinous war between Israel and Hamas. He reiterated that Hamas must release its remaining hostages, sign up to a ceasefire, and accept that it will have no role in future governing of Gaza. Israel doesn't really care about the hostages, I don't think, because if they really did, they would have put much more effort. I mean, they're carpet bombing, they're bombing nonstop, they're blocking aid trucks from entering in, which in turn are also affecting the hostages that are remaining. So to demand that, you know, they need to release the hostages and stuff like that, okay, but at the same time, you have to realize that Israel is making it extremely difficult to even make sure those hostages remain in whatever safe capacity they can while they are still there. But Mr. Starmer's statement was aimed squarely at Israel, dramatizing how swiftly sentiment has changed among Western countries about how to end the war. Britain followed in the steps of France, which announced last week, also in my next coming video, that it would recognize an independent Palestinian state at the United Nations General Assembly in September. The article continues saying, quote, "The situation is simply intolerable," Mr. Starmer said after the cabinet meeting. "I'm particularly concerned that the very idea of a two-state solution is reducing and feels further away today than it has for many years." Yeah, because you guys had let all of this go on for so freaking long. As far as everything that's going on in Gaza, you guys let Israel continuously bomb for like coming up on a year. Over a year, I feel. It's been going on forever, right? It's been going on forever. In addition to a ceasefire, Mr. Starmer said that the Israeli government would have to agree not to annex the occupied West Bank and to commit to a peace process that would result in a Palestinian state alongside Israel. And this is where it's going to get tough, because Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million, right? Allegedly, but we know. As a campaign contribution, with the understanding of Israel being able to annex the West Bank. So the UK is saying that it's going to recognize a Palestinian statehood, and as part of that, like pretty much saying that Israel has to agree to these terms, including not annexing the West Bank, which the U.S., not the U.S., but Donald Trump has already pretty much sold the West Bank to Israel because of a purchase from Miriam Adelson. These are demands that Israel is highly unlikely to accept under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing government. I just called it. Mr. Netanyahu recently said that a Palestinian state could be a launch pad to annihilate Israel. Britain's decision will deepen Israel's diplomatic isolation after it abandoned a truce with Hamas in March and resumed its military offensive in Gaza. It also carries significant symbol weight given Britain's diplomatic stature and history in the Middle East. Britain paid played a critical role in the creation of the State of Israel by declaring in 1917 that it supported the establishment of a national home for Jewish people in what was then Palestine. Mr. Starmer had been ambivalent about recognizing Palestinian state, several officials said, in part because he viewed it as a performative gesture that would not change the situation on the ground and could, in fact, complicate efforts to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But a chorus of warnings about rising starvation in Gaza after Israel's restrictions on the delivery of food changed his calculation. More than 250 lawmakers, including many from Labor, signed a letter to Mr. Starmer and the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, urging Britain to recognize a Palestinian state at a UN conference this week. That is devoted to this two-state solution. Going on, saying, speaking at the conference on Tuesday, Mr. Lammy evoked Britain's role in the creation of Israel, noting that the Balfour Declaration, the diplomatic statement issued by the British government in 1917, vowed that nothing shall be done, nothing that will prejudice the civil and religious rights of the Palestinian people. That has not been upheld, he said, and it is a historical injustice that continues to unfold. Mr. Lammy said that Britain was carrying out airdrops of humanitarian aid along with Jordan, evacuating injured children to British hospitals and working for the resumption of the UN relief assistance. For Mr. Starmer, a methodical former human rights lawyer, the agonizing scenes in Gaza clearly moved him and changed his calculus. We will keep working with all our international partners to end the suffering, get aid flooding into Gaza, and deliver a more stable future for the Middle East, he said, because I know that is what the British people desperately want to see. Yeah, because these images coming out of Gaza of these children who are nothing but skin and bones now, literally dying of starvation, was the breaking point. It wasn't the rubble. It wasn't the bombs dropping constantly on these safe zones that Israel was telling people to evacuate to. After all of this, I think it's just because literally this is the final, like it's done, right? Like it's like over. I mean, saying that Hamas will have no part in governing a Palestinian statehood. If you look at it, though, like this will just radicalize the next generation or the next group of up and coming leaders who would govern a Palestinian state because of what they have just experienced through all of this. So to expect that it's just going to be peace moving forward, like you've essentially radicalized an entire generation. This is traumatizing shit that these kids are never going to forget. The kids that actually survived this, they're going to know when they had to eat sand to fill their bellies to make the pain go away. They're going to remember the trauma of having to carry their dead siblings blown to bits because of these bombs. They're going to have to live with the trauma of seeing their parents gunned down and executed, right? In in aid lines by the IDF. Like they're going to remember all of this. And you think that it's just going to be peace moving forward. This is the second of the G7 countries to come out with this statement. But at the end of the day, like you guys got to realize, you guys let this shit go on way too long, right? Like obviously October 7th, we know the story. But when Israel started carrying out this mass carpet bombing and ground invasion, you guys should have told them like, whoa, stop. Nobody is thinking about the fucking future. None of these leaders are thinking about the future because they don't have to be here to live through the future that we're going to have to deal with when all of this is said and done. Like, that's the one thing that bothers me the most. No, none of these leaders think about the future. This is so crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe before you take off. I'm glad that these steps are now being taken because they should have been taken a while ago. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just like, dude, like, is it too little too late? Because you look at the rubble, Israel, like the Palestinian territories are completely like destroyed. Are you guys going to pay to help rebuild this? I mean, you guys sent money for the bombs to destroy all of this. Are you going to pay to rebuild and help a Palestinian state like thrive after this? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. What are the countries that have let this go on for way too long without saying anything going to do to help the Palestinian people move forward?